Skull Nation, stop right now. U.S. Bank Stadium just erupted with breaking news, and chaos is brewing in Minnesota. The trade deadline just passed, and one number is already burning through the league. 0. 0 moves, 0 trades, 0 new toys for the defense. But here's the twist nobody saw coming. While the Vikings stood still, 3 massive dominoes fell around them. A legendary quarterback's name keeps circling back to Minneapolis like a ghost. That won't disappear. And one defensive mastermind just got labeled the biggest loser in the entire NFC North. Oh, and your starting running back? He dodged a bullet that could have ended his season. 5 stories, 1 storm, and it all starts now. Here's your first payoff, the one detail that has every analyst buzzing. Brian Flores, the coordinator who turned this defense into a monster, didn't get a single reinforcement at the deadline while division rivals loaded up. If you scold louder than you breathe, if you bleed purple more than you hate the Packers, hit like right now and subscribe to prove Viking Nation is the most loyal fan base in football. We're diving into the trade deadline chaos that has Minneapolis divided, and trust me, the double cliffhanger at the end involves a decision that could change everything. In the next 48 hours, let's start. Tuesday afternoon, 3 o'clock Central Time, the trade deadline slams shut and the Minnesota Vikings war room goes silent. No phones ringing, no fax machines buzzing, no champagne popping. For the first time and for years under general manager Fomenza, Minnesota made 0 moves during the regular season. But here's what you need to understand. The silence wasn't because they weren't trying. Sources say the Vikings were actively hunting before the deadline, and the target was clear. Cornerback, that's the position keeping Kevin O'Connell up at night. Byron Murphy Jr. and Isaiah Rodgers are holding down the starting spots, but behind them, Jeff Okudah already suffered TWO concussions this season. Dwight McLaughlin is unproven. Fabian Moreau is on the practice squad. Tavier Thomas is depth at best. 1 injury at cornerback, and this defense goes from elite to exposed. Albert Breer from Sports Illustrated confirmed it. The Vikings were hunting for a cornerback well before Tuesday's deadline. The need was real. The desperation was there. But here's where it gets spicy. According to ESPN's Adam Schefter, this is a rumor. Minnesota also explored adding a veteran quarterback to back up J.J. McCarthy. Names: Kirk Cousins, Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston. All 3 were mentioned in connection with the Vikings. Think about that for a second. Kirk Cousins, the man who spent 6 years in purple, the man who threw for 23,000 yards as a Viking, the man who's now riding the bench in Atlanta behind rookie Michael Penix, almost came HOME. But the Falcons refused to move him, and the Vikings stayed pat with Max Brosmer and practice squad arm John Wolford as McCarthy's backups. O'Connell addressed it Monday, said he feels comfortable with the quarterback room, but you could hear the hesitation in his voice. He wants Wolford on the active roster instead of the practice squad, but roster spots are tight. And there's more. Jonathan Jones from CBS Sports dropped this on Tuesday morning. He wouldn't be surprised if Minnesota traded a late-round pick for a low-cost veteran quarterback who won't threaten McCarthy's starting job. Remember, this is the same organization that signed Daniel Jones last season after the Giants cut him. The Vikings love veteran insurance policies, but none of it happened. No cornerback arrived. No veteran quarterback landed. The deadline passed, and Minnesota's roster looks exactly the same as it did Sunday night after beating Detroit 27-24. So why didn't they pull the trigger? Management says the answer is simple: health. Christian Darrisaw, Brian O'Neill, Andrew Van Ginkel, Aaron Jones, Ryan Kelly, J.J. McCarthy, all these guys missed time earlier this season due to injuries, and now they're coming back. The reinforcements aren't coming from trades. They're coming from the trainer's room. Internal solutions. That's the official line. But here's what the locker room is really thinking. Did we just waste a golden opportunity? The Vikings are 4-4, tied for the division lead after knocking off the Lions, and the NFC playoff race is wide open. This was the moment to go all in. Instead, they stood still while other contenders made power moves. Do you think the Vikings made the right call by standing pat at the deadline? Or did Fomenza miss a critical window to upgrade this roster? Drop your take in the comments, because Viking Nation is SPLIT on this one. And if you believe Minnesota should have traded for a cornerback, smash that LIKE button and let the front office KNOW we're watching. But here's the TWIST that changes everything. While the Vikings stayed quiet, one cornerback was actually available, and his name is about to make your jaw drop. Sunday night, third quarter, Ford Field. Aaron Jones takes a handoff, cuts left, explodes through the hole, and boom, he goes down, clutches his shoulder, walks off the field. Viking Nation holds its breath. Jones has been the most frustrating player on this roster all season. He's supposed to be the lead back, the veteran presence, the safety valve for J.J. McCarthy. But a quad injury in week 2 cost him FOUR games. And just when he was finding his rhythm against Detroit, posting 98 total yards on just 10 touches, his best performance of the year, the injury bug bit him again. Shoulder.AC joint sprain, the kind of injury that can linger for weeks if you're not careful. Monday morning, every Vikings fan woke up dreading the news. Was Jones done for the season? Would he miss multiple weeks? Is Jordan Mason now the lead back for the rest of the year? Then Kevin O'Connell stepped to the podium, and here's what he said. The evaluations were, quote, pretty positive. Jones is sore, but he has a chance to play Week 10 against the Baltimore Ravens. Read that again. A chance. Not a guarantee, not a lock, but a chance. That's the difference between a 2-week absence and a 2-month absence. Jones avoided the worst-case scenario, and for a Vikings team already decimated by injuries this season, that's a massive win. But let's talk about what this really means. Aaron Jones is more than just a running back. He's the perfect complement to J.J. McCarthy. In the 2 games they played together this season, Jones caught 5 passes for 64 yards and a touchdown. He's a receiving threat out of the backfield, something Jordan Mason is not. Mason is a downhill runner, one-dimensional, effective between the tackles but useless in the passing game. McCarthy needs Jones to keep defenses honest. When Jones is on the field, safeties have to respect the check down, linebackers have to stay home, and the offense has more space to operate. Without him, the Vikings become predictable. Defenses can pin their ears back and rush McCarthy, knowing Mason isn't a threat in the pass game. That's the difference between a functional offense and a stagnant one. Here's the kicker. Despite missing for games this season, Jones is still 4th on the Vikings in receiving yards with 79. Think about that. He's missed half the season, and he's still a top 5 target. That's how valuable he is to this offense. Now here's where it gets interesting. The Vikings are 10th in the NFC playoff standings right now, but they hold the tiebreaker over both the Lions and the Bears because of head-to-head victories. That means the 1-game gap between Minnesota and the 7th seed is smaller than it looks. If the Vikings can steal a win against Baltimore this Sunday, even without Jones, they're right back in the thick of the playoff race. But if Jones does play, if he's healthy enough to give McCarthy that safety valve, that receiving threat, that veteran presence, then Baltimore's defense has a problem. The Ravens are elite against the run, but they've struggled covering pass-catching backs all season. Jones could be the X factor that swings the game. So here's my question for you. Do you trust Aaron Jones to stay healthy for the rest of this season? Or is this injury just the beginning of another lost year? Comment your honest take below. And if you think Jones is the most important player on this offense not named J.J. McCarthy, smash that LIKE button and let the doubters KNOW. But hold on, because while Jones dodged a bullet, the Vikings defense just took a hit that nobody saw coming, and it has everything to do with the trade deadline. Cold truth time. Bleacher Report just dropped their winners and losers from the NFL trade deadline, and guess who they named as Minnesota's biggest loser? Not a player, not a draft pick. Brian Flores, the defensive coordinator who turned this unit into a top 10 defense, the mastermind who schemes up pressure like he's conducting a symphony, the coach who made this Vikings defense feared across the league. He's the loser. Why? Because he didn't get any new toys. No cornerback, no edge rusher, no defensive tackle, nothing. And while Minnesota stood still, division rivals made massive moves. Here's what Bleacher Report wrote, and I quote, according to Albert Breer, this is a rumor. The Vikings were searching for a cornerback well before the trade deadline. Turns out, a truly elite option was available. The Jets decided to trade star cornerback Sauce Gardner, and the Colts jumped on the opportunity, sending DWO first-round picks to land him. To be fair, that's a steep price for a defender who hasn't played at his usual level this season. However, defensive coordinator Brian Flores would have loved to have a player like Gardner to help shore up the 20th best defense in the league in points allowed. Let that sink in. Sauce Gardner, a 2-time All-Pro, a lockdown corner who can erase an entire side of the field, was available. The Colts paid the first to get him. The Vikings passed. Now, to be fair, the first-round picks is a massive price for any defender, especially one who's having a down year. Gardner's been good in 2025. Not great. He's not playing at the same elite level he showed in 2022 and 2023. But you know what? He's still better than Dwight McLaughlin. He's still better than Fabian Moreau. He's still better than having Jeff Okudah as your only depth piece after 2 concussions. Flores is running the top 10 defense with duct tape holding the secondary together, and management didn't give him any reinforcements. Meanwhile, the Colts just added a potential All-Pro corner. The Cowboys traded for Quinnen Williams, a dominant interior defender who can collapse pockets and stuff the run. The Seahawks grabbed Rashid Shaheed, a deep threat receiver who can change games. The league made power moves. Minnesota made none. Now here's the excuse the front office is selling. Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah and Kevin O'Connell both said the same thing. Injured players are finally coming back, and those internal reinforcements are just as good as any trade. Christian Darrisaw is back protecting the blind side. Brian O'Neill is healthy. Andrew Van Ginkel is rushing off the edge again. The cavalry is here, just not from outside. But here's the problem with that logic. Those players were already on the roster. They were already part of the plan. Adding them back doesn't make the team better than it was supposed to be. It just makes the team whole again. A trade would have been an upgrade. A new cornerback would have been insurance. A veteran quarterback would have been security. Instead, the Vikings are rolling into the second half of the season with the exact same roster they had in Week 1 and hoping injuries don't strike again. That's not a plan. That's a gamble. So here's what I need to know from Viking Nation. Do you trust the front office's decision to stand pat at the deadline? Or did they just waste a golden opportunity to go on a playoff run? Drop your take below. And if you think Brian Flores deserved better, hit that LIKE button and let management know we're watching. But listen closely, because here's where the plot thickens. While the Vikings stayed quiet, one name kept circling back to Minneapolis like a ghost that refuses to disappear. Cold truth time. Bleacher Report just dropped their winners and losers from the NFL trade deadline, and guess who they name as Minnesota's biggest loser? Not a player, not a draft pick. Brian Flores, the defensive coordinator who turned this unit into a top 10 defense, the mastermind who schemes up pressure like he's conducting a symphony, the coach who made this Vikings defense feared across the league. He's the loser. Why? Because he didn't get any new toys. No cornerback, no edge rusher, no defensive tackle, nothing. And while Minnesota stood still, division rivals made massive moves. Here's what Bleacher Report wrote, and I quote, "According to Albert Breer, this is a rumor. The Vikings were searching for a cornerback well before the trade deadline. Turns out, a truly elite option was available. The Jets decided to trade star cornerback Sauce Gardner, and the Colts jumped on the opportunity, sending DWO first-round picks to land him. To be fair, that's a steep price for a defender who hasn't played at his usual level this season. However, defensive coordinator Brian Flores would have loved to have a player like Gardner to help shore up the 20th best defense in the league in points allowed. Let that sink in. Sauce Gardner, a 2-time All-Pro, a lockdown corner who can erase an entire side of the field, was available. The Colts paid the first to get him. The Vikings passed. Now, to be fair, the first-round picks is a massive price for any defender, especially one who's having a down year. Gardner's been good in 2025. Not great. He's not playing at the same elite level he showed in 2022 and 2023. But you know what? He's still better than Dwight McLaughlin. He's still better than Fabian Moreau. He's still better than having Jeff Okudah as your only depth piece after 2 concussions. Flores is running the top 10 defense with duct tape holding the secondary together, and management didn't give him any reinforcements. Meanwhile, the Colts just added a potential All-Pro corner. The Cowboys traded for Quinnen Williams, a dominant interior defender who can collapse pockets and stuff the run. The Seahawks grabbed Rashid Shaheed, a deep threat receiver who can change games. The league made power moves. Minnesota made none. Now here's the excuse the front office is selling. Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah and Kevin O'Connell both said the same thing. Injured players are finally coming back, and those internal reinforcements are just as good as any trade. Christian Darrisaw is back protecting the blind side. Brian O'Neill is healthy. Andrew Van Ginkel is rushing off the edge again. The cavalry is here, just not from outside. But here's the problem with that logic. Those players were already on the roster. They were already part of the plan. Adding them back doesn't make the team better than it was supposed to be. It just makes the team whole again. A trade would have been an upgrade. A new cornerback would have been insurance. A veteran quarterback would have been security. Instead, the Vikings are rolling into the second half of the season with the exact same roster they had in Week 1 and hoping injuries don't strike again. That's not a plan. That's a gamble. So here's what I need to know from Viking Nation. Do you trust the front office's decision to stand pat at the deadline? Or did they just waste a golden opportunity to go all in on a playoff run? Drop your take below. And if you think Brian Flores deserved better, hit that LIKE button and let management know we're watching. But listen closely, because here's where the plot thickens. While the Vikings stayed quiet, one name kept circling back to Minneapolis like a ghost that refuses to disappear. Imagine a different timeline. Imagine Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah sitting in the war room Tuesday morning, phone in hand, ready to make a statement. The Colts just traded for Sauce Gardner. The Cowboys just landed Quinnen Williams. The Seahawks just grabbed Rashid Shaheed. And Minnesota is about to make a move that shocks the league. Let's break down what it would have cost. Sauce Gardner, two-time All-Pro, lockdown corner, the kind of defender who can erase an entire side of the field and let your defense play man coverage with confidence. The Colts paid TWO first-round picks and wide receiver A.D. Mitchell to get him from the Jets. That's their 2026 first, their 2027 first, and a second-year receiver who was Indianapolis' second-round pick in 2024. Now translate that to Minnesota. If the Vikings had offered a similar package, they would have had to surrender their 2026 first-round pick, their 2027 first-round pick, and the closest equivalent to A.D. Mitchell on their roster, wide receiver Yalen Naylor. But here's the problem. Mitchell is under contract through 2027. Naylor becomes a free agent after this season. That contract difference matters. The Jets would have demanded more from Minnesota to make up for the gap, probably a third or fourth round pick on top of the 2 firsts and Naylor. So the real cost? To first, Yalen Naylor and a mid-round pick. That's massive. But imagine the payoff. Sauce Gardner lining up opposite Byron Murphy Jr., Isaiah Rodgers sliding into the slot, Jeff Okudah as your fourth corner. That secondary goes from vulnerable to elite overnight. Opposing quarterbacks would have nowhere to throw. Brian Flores could dial up pressure, knowing his corners can win on an island. The defense transforms from good to championship caliber. Is that worth the first-round picks? That's the debate that probably raged in Minnesota's front office. Now let's talk Quinnen Williams, dominant defensive tackle, interior pressure machine, the kind of player who collapses pockets and makes quarterbacks panic. Dallas sent a 2026 second-round pick, a 2027 first-round pick, and defensive tackle Mozzie Smith to the Jets. Smith was the Cowboys' first-round pick, 26th overall, in 2023. For Minnesota to match that package, they would have needed their 2026 second, their 2027 first, and the closest equivalent to Mozzie Smith, linebacker Dallas Turner, their first-round pick from this year's draft, 18th overall. Turner is the future of this pass rush. Williams is the now. You making that trade? You giving up a 22-year-old edge rusher with sky-high potential for a 29-year-old defensive tackle who's elite but expensive? That's the kind of decision that defines a general manager's career. If Williams leads you to a Super Bowl, you're a genius. If Turner becomes a perennial Pro Bowler in someone else's uniform, you're fired. Finally, Rashid Shaheed, deep threat receiver, vertical speed demon. The Seahawks gave up a 2026 fourth-round pick and a 2026 fifth-round pick to grab him from the Saints. That's the cheapest of the 3 trades, and the one Minnesota could have easily matched. The Vikings don't have a 2026 fourth because they traded it away, but they could have offered their 2026 fifth and their 2027 fourth. That's basically the same value, and boom, J.J. McCarthy has a field-stretching weapon to pair with Justin Jefferson. Shaheed runs a 4.28 40. He averaged 18 yards per catch last season. He's the kind of receiver who makes defenses play honest and opens up the entire playbook. For 2 mid-round picks, that's a steal. But Minnesota passed. They passed on Gardner. They passed on Williams. They passed on Shaheed. They passed on everything. And now we're left wondering, what if the Vikings had gone all in? What if they mortgage the future for a championship push right now? Would they be Super Bowl favorites? Or would they be a franchise drowning in buyer's remorse? Comment your take below, and if you think Minnesota should have made at least one of these trades, hit that like button and let management know we're not afraid to go all in. But here's the reality. The Vikings chose a different path, and now we get to see if internal solutions are enough to win the NFC North. 5 stories, 1 deadline, 0 moves. The Vikings stayed silent while the league made power plays. Flores got labeled a loser for not receiving reinforcements. Aaron Jones dodged a season-ending injury. Kirk Cousins remains a ghost circling Minneapolis, and the front office chose internal solutions over external upgrades. This is the gamble Minnesota is making. Betting on health, betting on development, betting that the players already in the building are enough to win the NFC North and make a deep playoff run. The question is, do you believe? Because here's what's at stake. The Vikings are 4-4, tied with Detroit for the division lead, and they hold the tiebreaker. Green Bay is 1 game back. Chicago is falling apart. The North is wide open, and if Minnesota can go 5-1 in division games, 3 of which are at home, they win the division. The math is there, the talent is there, but the margin for error is razor thin. One more injury to the secondary and the defense collapses. One bad game from J.J. McCarthy and the offense stalls. One loss to Baltimore this Sunday and the playoff odds drop. This team is walking a tightrope, and the front office decided not to add a safety net. Now here's what I need from Skull Nation. 1. If you believe the Vikings made the right call by standing pat at the deadline, hit that like button and let the doubters know we trust this roster. TWO, drop a comment with your boldest prediction for the second half of the season. Are we winning the North? Are we making the playoffs? Or are we Super Bowl bound? Be bold, be loud. 3. Subscribe right now, because every single subscriber makes Packers fans furious. And we're about to take over the entire NFC North. But listen closely, because here's where the cliffhanger hits. One move is still on the table. The Vikings have 16 to 17 million in cap space, and they can sign a free agent at ANY time. No deadline, no restrictions. Names like Asante Samuel Jr., Stephen Gilmore, and Cameron Sutton are available right now. Samuel Jr. just got cleared to play after spinal fusion surgery, and sources say this is a rumor. He's talking with multiple teams that need cornerback help. Could Minnesota make a move this week? That decision could drop in the next 48 hours. And here's the rival twist. The Packers just cleared $22 million in cap space, and they're targeting the exact same free agents Minnesota is eyeing. Which team moves first? Which cornerback gets snatched? And what happens if Green Bay lands the guy Minnesota wanted? Plus, there's whispers that a Vikings defensive leader called a players-only meeting after the trade deadline passed. No coaches, no front office, just players. What was said in that room? Did they challenge each other to step up? Or did they question management's commitment to winning? That story is brewing, and it could either unite this locker room or fracture it heading into the most important stretch of the season. SKOL Nation, the storm is here. The North is OURS to take. The playoff race is wide open, and the next 72 hours will define this entire season. Hit subscribe, stay locked, and let's make the NFC North bleed purple. We ride together. See you in the next war.